English version. So I'm going to start it and start special audio recording. Yeah, this time I'm going to tell you a little bit about my trip around South America. As Jens just said, you can either ship your bike or you can decide to buy a bike in a country. I decided to buy a bike in Chile because I just spent 2,500 euro for the whole trip. Usually you spend even more just to ship your bike.
How long was the trip?
I was on the road since about 9 months and I'm back since 2 months.
2,500 for 9 months?
Yes, including buying the bike, including petrol, including spare tires, including everything.
And the flight?
No, the flight is an extra 1,000 euros.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went to Santiago de Chile and tried to get a bike. But the problem was I didn't get the route, and you need a route like a tax number to register a bike as a foreigner. And people before me, they said it was very easy for them to get, but when I went to the office they said I need a visa. And as a European passport holder I just got the entrance stamp and I didn't have a visa. So plan B was to register the bike on someone else's name. It worked fine. I got the bike, put all my luggage on. It was a little Honda 125 CG. It was a bike which is well known to be very trustful. I paid about 800 euro for it, and people in most of the countries of South America ride these bikes. So it's a local bike, everybody has it. You don't look like a fancy tourist. I had to spend 1 month in Chile until all the registration was done and all the papers were ready, so I decided to go south first and just visited some nice places like this place where they were selling horses. Also some nice beaches, and it was winter time in Germany and I sent those pictures home and said I was just spending some time at the beach and stuff. People were getting very jealous in Germany. It was weather like this when I was having a great time in South America.
Warmed up.
Well, this animal probably didn't have a great time. It was the son of this owner. He just finished university and it was a big celebration going on. And I actually wanted to ask him whether I'm allowed to pitch my tent on his property. And then he just invited me and I was part of the family suddenly, and yeah, we were all celebrating that his son finished university, and it was the dad of the pig, yes. Further south I went to see the close to Los Angeles, those waterfalls. It was a nice place to get a shower, because when you do wild camping a lot you always look for places to take a shower, like this. Next picture is loading. I also by chance found there is a school where they care for handicapped children. People from Germany came to do a social year, and I have the address if anybody knows someone who wants to spend a year in a country where he can learn Spanish. It was really cool, and I also spent 1 or 2 weeks setting up a Wi-Fi for them and just being part of this family and of this organization. It's just cool. When you travel alone, you're never alone. You always get invited and you get in contact, and it's always hard to leave again afterwards. Here another situation. You come to a farm, you ask, can you pitch your tent, because they have fences all around, and it's no problem. They say yes, and put your tent there, and then you try to go to sleep, and then you see they make a fire and someone knocks at your tent, here, come here, and I don't speak any Spanish, so but with hands and feet, if they say like this, it's probably they want me to go there. And they just made a big fire, and suddenly it was kind of a party. Some neighbors came with the big cars, and they had the music box on the back, and suddenly there were people dancing, and you could forget sleeping there. But it was great. I mean, you suddenly on the party dancing. I don't know what's the reason for this party, but it was great.
I think you are the reason.
Maybe. Yes.
Sure, the woman had good fun, huh?
And very close to this place, close to Pucón, there was this volcano. And I tried to go with the bike as far or as close as possible. So there was a little dirt track going up, and I just decided to pitch my tent there during the night. There was nobody, and in the morning I woke up and I hear some people walking past my tent talking English and German. So it must have been tourists. I just opened the zipper of my tent and like, what's that? Look out, and there all these people walk past my tent with the sticks and the helmet and the proper boots and stuff. And I just took my water bottle, my camera, left everything and just followed them. It was an amazing experience to see the crater on top of the volcano. It was like really breathtaking. It was amazing, yes. And the group, I mean the guy who organized the whole thing wasn't very happy about me following him, but
Oh, brilliant.
further south there was a second volcano, and after the first one was so great, I tried to go up this as well, but that wasn't a good idea. There was no people to follow, and the ice slowly got steeper and steeper, and it's like with the frog in the water. It gets slowly it gets hotter, and until he realizes he's already dead. And it gets steeper, but you don't realize. You always think, it's just more, a few meters more. And then at the noon, the sunbreak came through the clouds, and suddenly everything started to get slippy and cold. And so I decided not to go further up, but try to survive and to go down again. And on the way down, I realized there are other people like walking with ropes and trying, and I was just with my flip flops like.
Oh, brilliant.
Somehow I survived, but it was really like I had to hold on with my bare feet, no gloves, nothing to the ice, and I could warm myself up in those hot springs. That's the cheap version, and here you can spend the night in a fancy hotel for $100 or something. It's great. They have great touristic places in Chile, and also the people were very friendly. And when I asked to pitch my tent in someone's garden, or sometimes I just pitched beside the road, it was fine. Nobody stole anything or something. Yeah.
Where was it? The spring hot springs?
It is close to Pucón. There is a Villarrica and Pucón and the little lake, and it's around this lake basically. And by chance I got in contact with a local family, and they invited me to their house, and we got on quite well. And from one day there was a week, and then there was 2 weeks, and suddenly I spent Christmas with them. Yeah, Christmas, they had this blinking Christmas tree and a great meal. And with them they try to teach me German. And no, yes, of course. So it was interesting, and I tried to teach them German. So yeah, I started to get in contact with the people even better, knowing the language. Further, later on I went back north towards Santiago, and from Santiago I went to the coast to spend New Year there. And it was the biggest party I ever been. So yeah, millions of people dancing on the road. Everybody has these little funny heads and stuff. It was amazing, and it wasn't a problem for anybody just to take me somewhere, and then they introduced me to some friends and stuff. And I don't know, I never had this experience in Germany that some people take a foreigner and just show them around. Amazing. Finally, those papers for my bike were ready, and I was allowed to leave the country. So I said goodbye to the people I stayed with. Here I had my tent pitched up in the back of the firefighter. And yeah, but it was time to leave, because I knew 1st of January or 2nd of January the Rally Dakar will cross will go through Argentina, and I wanted to take some photos. So I went from Santiago to Mendoza to Argentina. And it was great, it worked great. I had the power of authority document from the official owner of my bike. And yeah, the paperwork wasn't a big problem. With a European passport, you just come there, you say hello, you get the stamp, and you're in the country. It's not like in Africa, you don't have to apply for visa in advance or something. So I was looking for the place where the Rally Dakar will go through, and yeah, just went along the same road for a little bit. Until finally I find a nice place to wait, and yeah, get ready to take some pictures. On the next day, at noon or something, the first bikes passed, and then cars followed. It's amazing. Oh, I mean, on the photo you don't see how fast they are. But when you see them live, you don't understand why they just don't explode or something. All kinds of cars and also quads and stuff just rush through. Also some trucks. It's amazing. I mean, I studied machine engineering, but I can't understand why they don't break. My bike had a few punctures, but yeah, I could repair them. I carried a little bit of tools and stuff, so no problem. Later on I used couch surfing to get in contact with some people in Argentina, and they invited me to their house with a swimming pool and stuff. It's just amazing. And it turned out they had horses. They owned some horses, and I never been sitting on a horse before, but of course they asked me, do I want it? Of course I wanted, and I got some horse riding lessons. Of course they have monopolies there as well, and out of one night it became like 2 weeks or something, and now they're going to come to Germany and they're going to visit me. It's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I went further north, going towards Bolivia, and the road went up higher and higher. There were no trees anymore, but these big cactus. Never saw a big cactus like this, and I was lucky some of them just were flowering. So this is very rare. Someone later on told me this is very rare. Yeah, then I entered Bolivia, and it took a long time to do the border crossing.
Great.
Because the guy who was in charge of giving me the stamp for my vehicle, he was just drinking his mate tea, but didn't do his job, and I started to talk with someone else. He also wanted to enter his vehicle, and it turned out he had a house in La Paz, and he invited me, when I ever go to La Paz, I'm welcome, just drop an email and visit me. So this for later. Yeah, that's the road going up.
Beautiful.
Yes, beautiful. Some animals just beside the road. And then I went towards the Sala de Uyuni, the big salt lake. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you have salt. You have to wear sunglasses and put on some sun lotion because the sun is very strong. You get sunburned so quickly. And yes, they also had, there are some places like little rivers or something. People keep them wet, so they can easily take out some salt. They don't have to do a lot of work. They can just take out the salt to sell it and stuff, to transport it somewhere. They also have salt hotels around or close to Uyuni, but these hotels are all closed because the government closed them. They didn't have things for their waste in the toilets and everything, and so they had to close. And so along the salt lake there are many empty houses, and with a little nail you're able to open the door and you own a little house. And there were some backpackers. Many people travel Bolivia with a backpack, and of course they also look for a place to sleep. And when I had a house, of course I invite them into my house. That's a supermarket. You can get everything you really need. And it's not so hard to make a choice what to buy there. Here it's much harder. A place where you can get fresh orange juice just for a few cents. The funny thing is, in Bolivia, some traditional women, they always wear this head. And they usually don't want to be on the photo, so you have to zoom as far as you can. La Paz, finally, the capital city. Many wild dogs live there, and sometimes when you pass with your bike you hear wow wow wow, and then someone tries to snap on your leg. So didn't really like it, but I was looking for the house of this guy who invited me. I had sent him an email and he gave me the GPS position, so it wasn't a big problem. It also wasn't a house like this, but it looked like this.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. Of course, you know, you can think it wasn't for a night, it wasn't for a week, it was for 2 weeks. And of course, I could leave all my luggage there and stuff and go around to explore the landscape, explore the area. And this is the so-called most dangerous road of the world. So the Camino De La Muerte.
I want to go there.
It's cool. In the old days it was very dangerous because when there are two trucks coming towards each other, they try to squeeze past and sometimes if the drivers were drunk or something, they slipped down or something. In these days, it's just tourists using this road, so it's not dangerous anymore. I had much worse roads, but it's cool to be there and it's amazing to ride along, and it just goes down, down, down. I mean, great. Yes. Yes, people in Bolivia, they build their houses by themselves. So they just take a little bit of mud and they have this wooden thing and they put in some mud and go with the feet, and they produce their own stones to make their house. It's really cool. And when they don't need their house anymore, they just leave it and there's no waste or anything. It just disappears. So we can learn something from them of not making so much waste. And the good thing is also with a lot of empty houses beside the roads, you always find a place to pitch your tent. It's cool. Some even have a roof. Most of them don't have a roof anymore, but some do. And I really enjoy like being in the tent at night or in the evening and sorting the pictures, writing the diary, and think what have you seen during the day and write this all down and stuff. I like this kind of stuff. Further on towards the lake Titicaca, I went to see a friend of this guy I stayed with in La Paz. He owned a fish farm. They were growing fish in big nets in Lake Titicaca. And I tell you, it was a lot of fish to produce those fish fingers. It was interesting to see the whole process before I continued towards Peru. But Peru, you're only allowed to enter when the bike is registered on your name. And the problem was, my bike wasn't registered on me. So I had to go to the internet place, like the internet cafe where they had the color printer, and register it on my name. It wasn't a problem, the police accepted the papers and stuff, and I was allowed in. This guy actually, after all the border guys did my paperwork, he asked to see all the papers again, like 2 or 3 kilometers after the border. But I told him I have to go to take photos of these Indians who live on the floating islands. I'm sorry, but I don't have time to do another passport control. And he accepted, and I went. So I went to the fisherman's place where they were like small boats and asked some people. They were like looking, who's that stranger coming to our place? Usually people are afraid of that. And so I asked someone, and yes, of course you can pitch your tent and stuff, and it turned out they had a boat. So we went to see the Indians on their floating islands, but not the normal touristic way, but by hand on our own boat, and just we could go much further than you can go with the touristic boats. It was interesting. So these are the islands we're talking about. It's made out of schilf, like grass or something, and because it always rots away a little bit, they have to put more every day, like they have to repair those islands to keep them floating. They also make these kind of boats and houses and everything out of this special grass which grows there instead of trees, because you have to think Bolivia is almost all of Bolivia is more than 4,000 meters altitude. There is no trees growing or something, so they just use this kind of grass. That's the way to Machu Picchu, the most known place in Peru. So of course I wanted to go there too, and I had a lot of rain during this trip, and suddenly I found a traffic jam on a mud road. This is not very usual, but when I went all the way to front, I realized the rain and the rain had made the river so strong they just took away the whole bridge, and some truck drivers were already waiting 3 months. Not months, 3 days for the bridge to be rebuilt, and it just took me 1 day or something, and it was amazing. These people, they were not prepared to spend a long time there, but somebody had some chickens in the truck, and somebody had some rice, and somebody had a cooker, and it started to be a big family, and everybody was doing something, and everybody got some food, and people started selling stuff. It was like markets suddenly, and cool, really cool.
How did they repair the road?
We waited, and then they had a big just a bugger. It came to that place. They put some pipes in and filled it with gravel, and then they said passengers only were allowed to cross this bridge. Of course, I'm a passenger with my bike, so go. Yeah, there were many rivers we had to cross, so you get used to it, and only yeah, as the, I don't know his name, before me told, sometimes you have wet feet for weeks, but if you do trips like this, you just can't go through without getting wet feet. The only place I found to pitch my tent close to Machu Picchu or close to Santa Teresa was this place. It was already getting dark because I spent a lot of time at this bridge to wait, and it was a very steep road, so there was no place to camp or something, and it was getting dark, and then I suddenly saw this cross, and it lightened up the place, and I saw it's perfect to pitch a tent. Next day I went to the train station of Santa Teresa, where I left my bike and all my stuff with the guys at the entrance. They allowed me to park it there, and I start to walk to Agua Caliente, which is a little city on the feet of Machu Picchu. There you can buy the ticket, and then you go, or you take the bus, whatever you want. It's about 1,000 meters altitude going up, so it was very hard, a hard walk, but finally you reach it and you can take this picture, so you feel very happy, and also I was lucky because on these 2 hours I spent on Machu Picchu, the sun was shining. On the way to it was raining, and on the way back it was raining as well. Later on the rain stopped. Oh yeah, of course Machu Picchu was crowded with people, and you see a lot of old people and touristic people with flip-flops, and you did hard work and you're really exhausted, and then you see all these people with the flip-flops. They use the train, and then they use the bus. So you think, oh, you did all this hard work, and funny.
They didn't
Well,
do it for 2,500 euros.
Yes, that's the other thing. They pay a lot. I just paid 16 euros with my expired student card.
Is there any way to stay there overnight?
Yes, in Agua Caliente there are many hostels, and it's not too expensive
But
actually.
in the Machu Picchu?
Yeah, there is a hotel, but it's something like $500 a night or something.
Wild camping?
Sorry?
Wild camping?
Wild camping, no, it's very steep. It's very hard to find a place. I would go down to Agua Caliente. It's 1 kilometer up and 1 kilometer down. It's not too bad. You can spend the night in Agua Caliente and go from Santa Teresa to Agua Caliente is, I think, 7 kilometers. Someone else told me 10 kilometers, but it's not steep. It's straight. You can easily do it. I did the whole thing and back in 1 day, but you can easily do it 2 or 3 days. Yeah, I said the rain on the way back stopped, but just changed to snow. And I was still at about 4,500 meters altitude, so it was freezing cold. But also here I found this little house, and I knocked if there would be someone on the door and stuff. And there was nobody to open the door for me, so I had to do it myself and spent the night there. Next morning most of the road was white, but I just waited like 2 hours, and then the first trucks went past, and they make the snow yeah, like this, so you can ride your bike. It was still very slippy, but I was actually looking forward to the coast. You know, you're just 200, 300, 400 kilometers away from the coast, and at the coast it's desert. It's gonna be warm, and you're freezing cold and wet, and you just think, I want to go to the desert.
Which rains have you been there?
Sorry?
In which one?
Again?
In which part of the year?
It was winter time, so I started to buy the bike in November, so this must have been February? Something like February. Yes, and finally, just 80 kilometers before Nazca, the road started to go from 4,000 meters altitude down to sea level. It got warm. I could change the settings of my carburetor, because in the altitude you have to manipulate it a little bit, because the bike needs more oxygen and it doesn't get enough oxygen, so you have to reduce the petrol, the amount of petrol. But when you go down, you have to change everything again, and the tire pressure, you need more tire pressure suddenly and all this. But it was amazing because the landscape changed so much. As I said, I was in the desert. Some people lived in houses like this, they don't even have roofs. It is because they just had a big tsunami or something 2 years ago, and it destroyed many villages. So these people, earthquake?
Yeah.
Okay. So these people still live in houses like this, very poor people, some of them. But yeah, it was warm. I enjoyed being there again. I went to a nice oasis called Wakashima. It's like 200 kilometers south of Lima, of the capital city. And it was like, yeah, I could make holiday from my holiday. You could walk up the dunes, of course. You could go sandboarding. You could take jeep tours. And of course you could go swimming, and there were nice little hostels. There was Wi-Fi everywhere, and of course there were places where you could also do wild camping. So really cool, really cool. Later on in Lima, I don't like big cities. I mean, it's very crowded. You can't be sure when you park your bike to go for a swim. If you come back, the bike might be gone or something. So I looked for a place to stay in Lima because I needed to change the tires and to get some stuff, and I was allowed to pitch the tent at this church. So that was cool. And at this church, of course, you start to talk with people. Where do you come from? And they want to see your pictures, and then they say, oh yeah, but we have a house, and come to us. We make a little campfire.
Burn the house.
And then further up north towards Ecuador, I followed the Pan American Highway, and you go through desert for a long time. The only thing you see is these big chicken farms, and you actually smell them before you see them, and they're full with chickens. I mean, millions of them. Just in the hot desert, there's nothing but these chicken farms. And yeah, of course, sometimes they have oil pumps, and they also further north, close to Ecuador, they have nice beaches. You can really enjoy yourself there. I got in contact with a little local fisherman. He proudly presented some fish to me when he saw me running around with the camera. And of course you start talking, and he invited me to pitch my tent close to his house. And it's always cool to see how people live and being invited with them. And then they introduce you to the neighbors, and he wanted to show me something. I didn't know what he wanted. And then we got a pen and a paper, and he drew a picture, and it turned out they were turkeys in the sea, and he wanted to show them to me. Amazing. I mean, they were this big or something. Yeah, on I went to Ecuador, and it wasn't a problem to get the paperwork done and stuff. I saw Ecuador was green, was beautiful green. And there were many people. I mean, there's no kilometer where there's either no people or no plantages. They have big banana plantages. They are so big that they spray them from airplanes to put some dünger, some chemicals on the bananas or something. They use airplanes. And when I asked myself, why do they build their houses on sticks, I found out just a few days later when the rain came back. And it started to rain. I mean, this little bit of rain is a joke. It started to rain seriously, and everything started to be flooded. That was the main road, and you had to follow it, and whenever a truck was overtaking you or a bus, you get a shower. The capital city, Quito. So I crossed Ecuador quite fast and went towards Colombia. Also here, no problem to get the paperwork done. If you want some food just beside the road, some guinea pigs, you should try. I didn't really enjoy them. They taste like rubber. I mean, you chew and chew and chew and chew, but it wasn't really tasty. The very famous church in Colombia, but I forgot the name. Some picture of a different church where I was allowed to stay before I continued. That's the Waldorf school. I don't know if somebody from you knows the Waldorf school. They have a Waldorf school in Colombia, and I was allowed to stay there as well. And they had a school garden and showed me. I mean, they grow bananas, oranges, nice fruits everywhere. It's so nice and green in Colombia too. They have many nice flowers. and people run around with big knives and you get scared, but they don't use the knives to kill you, but just to offer you some nice fruits or something. Here on the restaurant, the lady was just preparing manjok. I told you about manjok yesterday. They just use them like potatoes. You can fry them, you can cook them. It's a plant you can make lots of things out of, but we hardly have it here. Because I was very scared of Venezuela, I got in contact with someone else on the internet and we decided to travel through Venezuela together. You hear so many bad things about countries in the internet and from other people and stuff, but you hardly hear any good things. So I really try to tell you, Venezuela, it was, of course, it was hard to do the paperwork. We had to, we went to a border from Colombia to Venezuela, but unfortunately the guy had lost his stamp and he was looking for it in the drawers and stuff. He couldn't find it. So we just had to go 50 kilometers more and to try it on a different border. There he found the stamp, but then we had to go to a police station which was hidden somewhere and take the last road left and turn right, and I don't know. It was very hard to find all these offices. They were not located at the border. But finally we were in the country and we liked it. People were friendly. And yeah, he had an accident and he couldn't use his foot because he was standing on a traffic light and a car drove over his foot. So that's why he just traveled this way. He changed gears with a little string on the gear. Yeah, this was entering Venezuela, and because I tried to go the same speed as the Cal R650, I went into the red RPM thing, and suddenly I felt my bike just going off while riding. And I checked it. I checked, is there electricity? The spark plug was working. I smelled, I put the engine in, it was wet, so there was petrol, but there was no compression. So he told, we put a string to the foot, to the pedal, and he pulled me back to the next city, and there was a guy sitting in the sand with some tools around him and stuff, and he also knew, yes, if you go too fast with this bike, the valves usually bend. And because I knew Venezuela is going to be a very cheap country, petrol was cheap, usually it's 1 cent per liter or something, but when you come with a bike, just to take 7 liters, they don't have change for that. So they just say welcome to Venezuela and go, and when they take out the pistol from your bike and to put it in the next car, they don't even stop it. I mean, the petrol is going Yes. So that was Venezuela, and therefore I didn't change a lot of money. So before you get someone working for you, you have to agree on a price. And I tried with hands and feet to make him understand I just have US dollars. And he wrote in the sand, he wrote 200, and I thought, oh, shit man, 200, okay. If he can repair my bike and I continue the trip, I pay 200. And after a few hours he went away and he came back and he had the valves and he just put them in very quickly. He knew what he's doing. It was amazing. I mean, in Germany, if you go to a dealer and you have some problems with the valves, they say come back 2 weeks later. Then they charge you a big amount and stuff. I mean, and here it was done within, let's say, the afternoon or something. And it turned out he actually wanted 200 of the local money, so it turned out to be 45 US dollars. We changed them, and 45 US dollars included me sleeping in the garage of them. Yeah, they had nice waterfalls in Venezuela and beautiful landscape. And the people were so friendly. I don't know how people tell these bad stories about, I don't know. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and wherever you stop, people had big knives and stuff, but they offer you fruit. Nobody in Germany would offer a stranger some fruits or food if he stops. But in Venezuela, they're so friendly. I was invited in many places and shown around. People had their own plantages or were growing vegetables, and they wanted to see me and to take photos, and I made many photos. I just took a few for this slideshow, and he even owned a video camera, and he always wanted me to stand at his house and at his places to take photos from me.
Oh.
They have huge trucks in Venezuela. I mean, in most of the countries in South America, actually, they have like 2 or 3 trailers, and because I was going usually like 80, 90 kilometers an hour, but they go 120 or something, they want to overtake you, but they don't look. You're there, and they come and they just start overtaking you. And when they see there's another car coming towards you or towards them, because they're on the wrong lane, they just pull back on the right lane and they just push you off the road. Luckily nothing seriously happened, just the brake pedal was bent, and I went to the next little village, and this guy had some tools and stuff, and he pushed it back, and instead of presenting me a bill or asking for money, he just made some nice juice and came back with the juice. I mean, would this ever happen in Germany?
He won't charge you to choose things.
Here they have a lot of old American cars. They use a lot of petrol, but for bikes it's usually free. And for a car, to fill up a car like this, it's like 50 cents or something. Here I try to make some photos where I'm on as well. And I also wanted to make some photos with this. That's a nest of bees. Wild bees, but it wasn't a really good idea. Later on, I went towards Brazil, and it was really beautiful landscape. I crossed the rainforest for about 2,000 kilometers, the Amazonian rainforest, and it was amazing to see plants growing on trees, and really amazing, these big places. Later on, someone told me on the map, on the Brazilian map, not on my map, there is written something: you're only allowed to stay on this road or in this part of the country till 6 o'clock p.m. because it's Indian territory, and after 6 o'clock they're allowed to take everything from you. I did wild camping there. Nothing happened, luckily. Just enjoyed the landscape, crossed the equator and went to Manaus. And in Manaus I was on the traffic light, and then someone started talking to me. Where do you come from, with the Chilean number plates? And we found out he was able to speak German as well, and he invited me. I have a house, and come here and stay here. No, stay till tomorrow, I want to take you somewhere. And he took me somewhere, and I suddenly ended up in a live TV show.
Colombia, Venezuela,
and after this, the telephone rang, and there was another TV program wanting an interview of me, so I had to stay another day to go to them and stuff. It's amazing. And then they put an article about me on the website of their TV station, and this made other people in Brazil writing emails to me, inviting me, if you ever come to this and this city, just drop us an email. We are travelers as well, we saw you on TV, come to visit us. So I started to plan the next trip, parts of my trip, visiting all those people. It was great. First, from Manaus to Belém, there's no road, or no proper road going. So I had to take the ferry for about 2,000 kilometers, 5 days.
Which one? The first or the second? The first trip or second trip?
Have you seen the
The AIDA! No, I took the cheaper one. And it was cool. I mean, people tell you that you're going to be robbed on the ferry, that they cheat you while buying the tickets and stuff. Of course, you go to different places, you ask for the ticket price, and when you get an idea how much it is about, you start negotiating and stuff, and you press them down. And I don't know, I paid $150 for the trip, 5 days on the ferry. It's not too bad. Usually people sleep in those hammocks. It's cool, it's very comfortable during the night, but sometimes I wanted to have a little bit more privacy, so I just pitched my tent. So it's good to have a tent which is able to stand without hooks, and it protects you from mosquitoes and stuff. The ferry went along this river through the beautiful Amazonian rainforest, and you could really enjoy the landscape. It was so beautiful. You could see people living there. I mean, there is no electricity, there's no running water, there's not even roads, but people live there. And on one day I saw those kids waiting for the ferry, then they threw a hook and pulled themselves to the ferry. The ferry was going 25 kilometers an hour, and they entered it. And first I thought they're making a joke or something. Yeah, they came closer, they entered the ferry, and to sell fruits. I mean, they were working, it was hard work for them. They brought nice fruits, and later on they went off and waited for another ferry to go back. And you can see when you slowly go through this beautiful landscape, people live there. They have little houses. There's no road, there's nothing, but they live there. And I would have loved to stay and spend some days or something there, but the ferry unfortunately was going on. I mean, it's just nature. It's so beautiful. Yeah, there was this sweetwater dolphin. It's not a dolphin. Someone told me the name of it. Burro or something. It's not a dolphin. And here you see the contrast. It's Belém, the civilization on the right, and the rainforest on the left. And in Belém, they had a market which is open 24 hours a day. So there was always some things going on, and sometimes you have to wake up. If you want to buy something, you have to wake up for people selling. On the ferry, of course, I was the only traveler because it wasn't the typical touristy season, so you get in contact with many people, and of course people took me to their place and said, yeah, but if you go to Belém it's dangerous, you can't go there, come to our house, stay there. And in Brazil people live together with their family. They have their grandchildren, they have their aunts, daughters, cousins. It's huge, and from 20, 30 people, one more or less, doesn't matter. Also a cool thing in Brazil, there is not so many strict rules like we have. So you can buy copies of CDs, films, even Windows, just on the market. In the north of Brazil, people live in houses like this. It reminded me of Africa. People didn't have electricity, no running water, but they were happy and they were so friendly. It's amazing. And if not people welcomed me, it was their dogs running when they hear me coming. And it's a perfect place to do wild camping, of course. You see some nice birds, and then it turned out to be a pet. And people show you around and introduce you to the neighbors. I really enjoyed it. This lady, she had to walk for 1 kilometer or something to get fresh water. But it was cool, and a really, really beautiful area, the north of Brazil. Here, Manjok again, he just to prepare supper, he just went behind his house, pulled out one of these plants. Then they prepare it, and yeah, you cook it, and that's what they have for supper. No electricity, no Ceran-Kochfeld, no cooking station. Really cool. Yeah, then I continued my trip south, went towards Teresina, visited people in Uberlândia, and went to Barretos. Barretos, it was the biggest motorbike meeting in Brazil. 40,000 people, so a little bit more than here. And of course you come with a Chilean number plate, you get the trophy for the guy who came the furthest distance. And they had really cool shows. I mean, amazing. I can still learn something from him.
This we do tomorrow. Eh?
Yeah, you show me how to do that?
Yeah, on your bike.
Yes, and then I went down, crossed Sao Paulo and went towards Rio. Of course, you have to visit Rio, and of course there was somebody who invited me to go to Rio. I was very happy about this, because usually in big cities it's very hard to find a place to stay. And Rio was beautiful. I mean, have you ever seen a city like this? Sao Paulo is flat. I didn't really like Sao Paulo. They had huge traffic jams and highways with 20 lanes, but all traffic jam and crowded, and still people with motorbikes went beside those, or between those cars who were stuck in the traffic jam very quickly, and I was just going slowly, and then they start whooping behind me. So I don't know, but I enjoyed Rio. And of course, those people had invited me to stay, and you could go to the famous Copacabana beach, drink some nice juice out of the coconut, and have fresh fish and stuff. They also showed me people who were selling tomatoes beside the road. Well, selling tomatoes. On the right you see a tomato, but on the left it's I forgot the name again. But it's really sweet. It's not a tomato, but it's a very sweet fruit. Diospiro. Okay, I thought it sounded different.
Portuguese is Diospiro.
Okay. It was amazing because I thought they were selling tomatoes, but no, it's delicious sweet fruit. They also had exotic birds around there, and I mean it's green and it feels like real being in the nature, even if you're in a big city. And those people were they like to go diving, and of course when they ask you, do you like to try, of course I won. So they gave me all this equipment and stuff and told me, don't move, just sell this, that means it's okay, so don't get me wrong. And he just took me, grabbed and showed me around, like he knows what he's doing. It was amazing. We went down to 30 meters or something, and then he said, yeah, but some people want to talk to you, some of my friends and stuff. It was TV again. I mean, they were really crazy. Yeah, then afterwards Honda also invited me. Yes, we want to see you. They changed the oil, they changed the chain, they did a lot of stuff and didn't want any money for it. So amazing. And I also, newspaper and stuff. I mean, I don't understand what they write, but people said it was positive. It wasn't too bad.
Be aware.
Yes. Yeah, that was the trip.
Great.
Any questions?
How many months was the trip?
9 months.
9 months.
28,000.
Did you sell the bike then?
Yes.
In Brazil?
I went out of Brazil and sold it on the border to Paraguay.
Did it help a lot to travel on a small bike?
Yes, I think. Yeah, not only to save money, but also you don't look too fancy, too touristy. When you come to border controls in Peru or something, the police don't realize you're a tourist. And when they realize, you already passed them and can just wave back. But if you come with these, I mean, sometimes you see tourists. You think there's another sun going up the horizon when they have big lights, and usually they have lots of luggage, so the light is going much too high. And you can see them a long way, and you see they have money, so of course the police tries to get them. But with the small bike it was cool, and it helped to get in contact with the local people, because they all have these kind of bikes. And they think, wow, you can go so far with it, and they're really amazed, and that makes you have like you have the same hobby with them. You're not above them, you're the same. And that's really cool. And also, if you have a breakdown, all the parts are available. You get tires for $15 or something. Yeah, that's there. And I can go 90 kilometers an hour with my Transalp in Africa. I usually didn't go faster, so no need to take a bigger bike. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
You get it new or used?
I bought it used for 800 euros, but you can get it new for 1,000.
Would you sell it for?
Sorry?
Would you sell it for?
I sold it for 300.
How much kilometer could you drive with one?
Well, I bought it with 10,000. I did 28,000. It was 38.
How much kilometer with one fuel tank?
One fuel tank is about 200.
Okay.
But I had some sometimes on some parts of the road when I knew the petrol there is no petrol station. I just took some old oil cans or some old canisters and with 4 or 5 liters and just screwed them on the back. And when I knew I don't need them anymore, I just throw them away. You can get old canisters everywhere. Okay, thank you.
Hey. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.